One last place to check.
Oh, I'm hearing
You hearing what?
feedback.
Are you?
Oh,
Oh,
oh, okay, not now. So it's
okay.
good now.
That's good. I'm glad you're not hearing feedback.
Oh, I am hearing feedback now.
Is it me or you? If it isn't one thing, it's another. I was having a problem with feedback yesterday.
Yeah, I'm having feedback problems. Okay, try talking
Test
again.
1 2 1 2. Is that good?
Yeah.
That better? Let me talk
Yeah.
a little louder.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine now.
I mean, it's
all right.
yeah. I don't know what was causing it.
Yeah, I was having it yesterday. I did an interview yesterday, and I was having feedback. For those of you that are watching us live, we're at one of those mornings where things aren't just completely firing on all cylinders. So we're making sure that
It's really, really delayed.
What's
It's
delayed?
really delayed. Testing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Testing. Yeah.
Are you getting a feedback loop from me?
I'm not sure. It could be that, but it's really delayed. It's really delayed, like maybe like 5-second delay.
From you or from me? Are you hearing yourself or are you hearing me?
It sounds like it's just me.
That's weird. It would be 5 seconds though, because we can almost talk in real time here. So
Okay.
it's screwing you up, isn't it?
Let me try calling back in.
All right. This is what happens sometimes. I was going to make an adjustment, Rob. Do you still hear the echo?
It sounds like I'm just hearing me. Yeah, it's just me.
All right, hang on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can probably get through it. I've had to deal with things like this before, but
What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down 2 settings, and hopefully that fixes it.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, I keep getting like somebody's trying to dial in. Yeah. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
I don't know what to do. You've never had this feedback for you before.
I know. This has never happened like this before. Yeah, it's really a latent feedback loop.
All right, let me try to sign out of Skype and come back. For those of you that are watching live, we apologize here.
Hang on. Let me see if it's maybe a Facebook issue. Hang on here.
Oh, that's what it is. You probably got Facebook turned on.
Could be.
Oh, yeah. If you've got Facebook turned on, you're getting the feedback from Facebook.
I turned that off, so hopefully that fixed it.
Okay. Are you good?
Okay. Here, let me turn off all my browser windows and see if that fixes it.
Yeah, you might have something playing. That's why it would be 5 seconds if it was going out and then. But usually the Facebook stream is slower than is more than 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I'm turning off is all my browsers.
Yeah. I've had that happen before too. Keep telling you we need to get you on a Mac.
Well, that wouldn't fix that problem.
Well, you just turn your volume down on the Mac and then you're good.
Okay, I closed up all my browsers, so.
You still have a feedback?
I don't know. I think it's so latent that
I have no idea. I really don't at this point.
Yeah, right. Okay, let me call you back.
Hang on. Okay, how about now? It may have been me. Was it me? Is it gone?
I don't know yet. You have to wait like 5 or 6 seconds. I mean, it should be gone now, I think. So let's just go.
All right. Anyway. Whew, that was fun. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. And
great to be back doing the show in very strange times in the world.
Yeah. And I just got to thinking, Rob, it could have been one of my machines because I'm wired up for the virtual Indie PodCon this afternoon.
Right. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of stuff on that as well.
Yeah, it's good. So I may have been given the feedback. Who knows? Because I added some stuff here. So if your echo's gone, it was probably me all along. But everyone, welcome to the show. We're obviously a late start, and we got our butts kicked. So if you're watching this on replay on Facebook, we're 10 minutes in already, and it is what it is. But wow, so we are. What is this? Going into week 3 of lockdown or whatever is it, Rob? I've kind of lost track.
I'm not even exactly sure when all this happened. I think it was starting to happen back when we were at Podfest, even in Orlando. So
yeah.
But as far as the actual lockdown part, yeah, it's only been a few weeks, and things seem to be accelerating.
Yeah, and you and I kind of work remotely a large part of the time anyway. So for us, it's kind of been like business as normal. But I know that my team down in Columbus has had, it's kind of been like it's been an interesting change because, I think we're on week 2, and we're meeting every morning. We do a team meeting at right around the first thing in the morning, and we find out what we did yesterday and what they're doing today and problems they're having and any meetings we need to set up. And it seems to be going okay. I'll know probably in another couple of weeks if this remote working is causing production delays or anything like that. I've got a big product announcement coming on May 1st, and we're marching towards that. So, I don't know. I guess we'll just see what happens here with remote working with the team. Now, you guys at Libsyn, you guys have been working remote for a lot of time, but you still have some in-house people in Philly, right?
Yeah. We've got a lot of people that are in our office in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh.
That are all starting to, they've been working from home now for over a week. So it's been an adjustment for those folks in Pittsburgh, that's for sure. So, but for Rob Walsh and I and Elsie and Dave Jackson, it's been, it's like this is our normal life to some degree.
Yeah.
Even though, all 4 of us spend a lot of time going to events, and as we all know, that's not happening anymore.
That's right.
So it's been an adjustment on that side. Thinking more virtual now, Todd. I mean, I think like what we're doing later today with Joe Pardo and this Indie PodCon coming up.
Yep.
I think this is a little bit of a sign of what's to come for those of us in the podcasting space that are wanting to help podcasters get started and learn how to podcast. Is we're going to do more virtual events.
The thing I worry about the indie events is, and I just from previous experiences, is people pop in, pop out. It's not like you have this captive audience anymore.
Right.
There's no in the hallway discussions. It's going to be just pure fire hose drinking of information. And people need breaks. They need socializing time. So if and actually, I got a proposal from a gal that's doing a virtual pod. Well, it's more of an entrepreneur type of conference, and and it's later on, and her sponsorship levels were as high as what I would pay as a real world event. And I said, no way. I'm not getting the same value. No, and it really kind of appeared to be a little bit, well, you pay and you get to speak. And she had other people come in. I said, how are you vetting your speakers? Number one, that was a question I asked. Number two, are you allowing your speakers that are going to be coming in and giving training to pitch? Or is anybody selling anything? Are you selling anything? I wanted to make sure that if we're going to do a virtual event, that it is going to be follows the guidelines of all these other events we've gone to over the years, to make sure that the audience members are getting taught instead of pitched, and people aren't selling stuff, because some of these virtual events has all these entrepreneurs come in and they've got this mastermind, or they got a pipeline, or they've got they're selling something, and people do not want to be sold to for 8-10 hours during a virtual event.
Right.
And so for me, it's those, I'm asking those very hard questions, especially seeing how much the sponsorship level was. I was like, I understand you got to make some money, but your expenses, Joe's doing this today on StreamYard. It's costing him no more than his StreamYard subscription. He's going to have some post editing to do. We were happy to step in and sponsor that event because the dollar amount was right. And I felt the value in return would be good, and want to support Joe. I trust Joe. I've known Joe in the space for a long time. So I think that's what it boils down to too. As part of it is trust.
Right. No, I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of distraction that's involved with the virtual events, right? That people can get pulled off into email or off into, calls or whatever. It's not a focused type of experience like you typically have at a real conference. So you're not going to get people's attention quite as much and hold it for as long. I agree 100%. But in this environment, that's, what other option do people have?
Right.
If they want to promote their business, or if they want to connect with others, we all have to utilize these online video conferencing, video tools. I mean, I've been hearing from, the various tools out there that they're just getting overloaded with use right now, like freeconferencecall.com. I mean, a lot of employees are now using these conference platforms to do work together, I mean, more so than they ever have before, especially those that have been working in an office for all these years. They're being forced to use these other communications tools. So I think we're seeing an era being born here where more and more companies are going to embrace remote work. And I think that's going to be the fallout from this, is that I think more companies are going to realize they can save a lot of money by not having as many offices.
Well, I think that's beyond clear. But,
right.
but at the same time, I laugh because all of a sudden Slack says they've had 9,000 new corporate clients sign up. I've been using Slack now for years. And what the beauty of that is we have Citrix GoToMeeting. We use that for a lot of client calls. We have Zoom. Matter of fact, we added a third corporate account for Zoom this week because we were having some overlap and there was too many meetings going on. So we needed and it's a cheap license. So we added another Zoom account. But in Slack, I can just pop up Slack. And if I'm doing a chat with someone, like last week I was doing a chat with my marketing guy, and I just like, okay, I need to do a quick call with him. I just reached right up and hit the call button. And I called him right in Slack. We did a video conference, and I boom, 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 boom. We got the visual, the discussion, and in 3 minutes, which would have took 20 minutes in texting, I was done. And I got off Slack and we went back to work. I didn't have to have a Zoom meeting. I was using Slack to make the video call.
Right. That's true. Though I have had some shaky experiences with Slack's kind of video conferencing technology and stuff like that, where hasn't been the best of experience, but maybe they've been really focused on that over the last couple of weeks to kind of boost that side of their tools. So, and if you've had a good experience with it so far, Todd, maybe they have been focused on improving that experience. So I think it's a good sign.
But I only use them for one-on-one. We don't do team meetings with Slack.
Okay, like group calls, right?
No, we use Zoom for group calls. If we have a group call, and that seems to work out fine as well. Hey, I wanted to say hello to Rick, Skip, Stephanie. If you're watching online, make sure you check in and say hello. Of course, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, Mixer, a whole bunch of places. I saw Stephanie in the audience. Thanks for saying hello, Rosanna. And anyway, so thanks for joining us live today.
Well, Todd, this was a big week.
Google
Podcasts launched on iOS. A little shot across the Apple,
so
quote, right?
I got to thinking about that. We've been encouraging Apple for many years to
get on Android.
And I'm thinking at this point, they've been hesitant, maybe not wanting to, kind of, for a better word, drop a turd on the Android. And I'm not saying it's going to be a turd, but they didn't really want to, they really didn't want to be naughty and go over there and drop a Apple Podcast app on Android. But, hey, all's fair in war.
Right.
All's fair in war. Come on, Apple, let's go.
Right?
That's right. If you've had that thing sitting in the wings and you've got that APK ready, and you've just been thinking about, punching the trigger to put that thing on Android, now is the time. And I'm putting out
lots of justification.
I am putting out a personal challenge. Right. Apple, I will be disappointed with you if you don't put out an Android app. Come on now.
Right.
Let's go.
That's what Apple did on Windows, right?
That's right.
For many years with iTunes, right?
Yeah.
It's only consistent with the strategy that they took. I mean, how many users are on Android that they can potentially, get using their platform?
You want to move the bubble. You want to move the bubble. Come on. Yeah. You want to move the bubble. I don't care what Google has done by putting the thing over on. And of course, Angelo was pissed because he said, did you see what they use for user agent? They use podcast as the word for the user.
Same as Apple.
Same as Apple, but Apple at least puts an extension with the version number.
Right. So
Angelo had to go in and write a new parser, and he was grumbling to me on check. And he says, I can't even repeat. But Google, I know someone on that team is listening. Put your version number on the extension of your user agent. Okay, right. Come on. Make it unique enough so that you're not the same as Apple Podcast.
Right. And make it unique to iOS too. So
yes. Yes, so you can separate them. Come on. This is like developer 101 stuff. I shouldn't have to tell the folks at Google what to do with their user agent.
Right. Well, some of these platforms don't even have an identifiable user agent.
I know, but we can give them a little a pass for being ignorant, but not Google. But so now I'm just I was giggling about it, and I'm thinking, oh, wait till we do the new media show because we get to have a discussion about this.
Right. No, that's true. It's just a minor thing to do in the code of the app. I mean, I don't know why it's so hard.
Depends.
Right?
Depends on what they've coded in, and there's a couple of coding bases out there that will do both. I'm sure Apple has purely developed for Apple, so they will probably have to, if they're not using Flutter or one of these other code bases that will do both platforms, they will probably have to code something up from scratch. I would think, because I'm almost sure the Apple Podcast app is 100%, iOS native. I don't think so.
Yeah. I would think it would be, but
it's not that Apple doesn't have a big programming team. It's not like something, it's not like they don't have a shortage of coders.
Well, that and Google, right?
Right.
Those guys too, right? So it isn't like it's a big deal, but it's going to be interesting. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. Speaking of Google, what's going to happen with FeedBurner? I think there's a lot of talk about Google putting some more resources behind FeedBurner. So we'll see what that means in the long run.
So
I know, Todd. I know.
Podcastmirror.com is a FeedBurner replacement. Not that I'm promoting my own product, because I am.
Right. Well, Todd, there's still a lot of shows and a lot of RSS feeds that are using FeedBurner. It would be nice to have Google support that, right? No, I know it's been falling for years, right? Because of Google's inattention to that tool, right? As it should have been.
We don't need to give Google any ideas on revamping FeedBurner.
Todd. It's okay.
Rob, it was our number one tech support issue for many, many years. We finally moved it off the radar. And so if you're a podcaster, well, I can't even say this for Anchor folks because you have no choice. You have to take the Anchor feed. You can't use the FeedBurner feed. Well, you could if you don't let Anchor submit your show. So use Podcast Mirror. We've got that there. It's free. It's modern. It's fast, like a rocket ship. It supports podcasting.
Right.
And we have lots of podcasters that still use Podcast Mirror too. So
sure. Well, use the new and modern tool as well, because you know who knows how long it's going to take Google to make any changes here.
And hopefully they don't.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, big shot there and of course they got a new version of the Google Podcast app coming out for Android. So I guess we'll see what that amounts to. Some people are seeing the update. I haven't seen it yet on my Android.
Yeah.
So I think that, I guess we'll see, but I know the Apple folks are listening. Please, please put your app out on Android. And I think you guys, here's the headline. Now, can you imagine the headline? Within 3 months of Apple Podcasts putting their app on Android, they gain 2, 3, 4% of market share. If they could see, that's the headline it could result.
Right.
Because what are podcasters still notoriously doing today? Listen on the Apple Podcast app. They don't talk about Android. So if the Apple Podcast app is on Android, all these shows that are promoting the Apple Podcast app or iOS on their shows and completely ignoring Android, then those Android listeners may say, I wonder if that app is on. It's a mind share thing because podcasters don't talk about Android still.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
Didn't even talk about the Google Podcast app, so this audience does because we talk about it a lot.
Right. And it does seem like that the user experience in the new Google Podcast app on iOS is pretty simple, straightforward. It gets you to categories of shows. It's a simple search to do a search for shows in there. I mean, it appears to be a pretty simple user interface, which is, I think that the Apple Podcast app can be a little confusing at times to use, where this is definitely, I think, a little simpler of an experience. So maybe it might be easier for new podcast listeners to connect with podcasts in this new Google app. So who knows? If we're going to see a big bump in people shifting using the Apple Podcast app over to this new Google app, who knows?
Well, I think part of it too is brand recognition.
Yeah. Well, especially outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So, I think it was, if everything else, if all this other craziness wasn't going on, I think it'd have been a bigger splash. Because I think people are pretty distracted, but I'm looking at listener numbers, and sports has dropped off because there's no sports going on, but a lot of other genres are really up, percentage wise, are really, really up. From a listening standpoint. Faith-based shows right now, are way up.
Well, and obviously people listening to news programs and updates around what's happening with the coronavirus. I mean, it makes logical sense.
But I don't see
my old show, Todd, back when 9/11 hit. I had my biggest download and stream day for my Web Talk World Radio show on the day of the attack on 9/11. And my show didn't have anything to do with news or that kind of stuff around that topic, but people were just looking for information back then. Of course, it was a completely different time. People weren't using the internet quite as much and didn't have as many resources as they do now, but people do go to the internet looking for information. about big world events like this, and I'm not surprised that certain genres probably spike pretty heavily.
So what I had thought about doing, and actually what I did on my own show, was I opened it up when the show was over on Monday night or Thursday night, and I kind of sprung it on them, so I didn't really get a lot of takers, but well, actually none, because it was just, I had an announcement. I just announced it during the show. If you want to come on and talk after the show's over, I set up Skype so that they could call in. And I thought we might, I don't know, what time does your live event go on today for the Indie PodCon?
I believe it's at 3 p.m. Pacific.
So maybe sometime during the show today, I can turn Skype on the bottom line. And if someone wants to come in and talk about what's going on with their show, or, maybe we would allow someone to do that during the show today. So if you're listening now, a little bit later, we may open it up for you to be able to Skype in and have some commentary with Rob and I here. And I'll put the information up on the screen in a little bit, so you have to be watching live. But I thought it might be just kind of Mike and I did the Podcast Insider live on the Blueberry channels. We've done 2 in a row on that, and those are really successful, widely attended, people asking some questions. So I see a lot of podcasters now asking about live. I had people ask how we're doing live here in this studio. And of course, this studio's been set up to do live we've been doing live for 6 or 7, or almost maybe 10 years.
Right.
So it's nothing new for us to do live, but I'm telling people now they're brand new. If you're going to do live for the first time and you just want to go on Facebook, just use StreamYard. It's probably the easiest way to get going.
Yep. Oh, my segment on the show today is at noon Pacific. Sorry, I got my time zone.
At noon Pacific. So you're 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay.
Right.
And I'm at 5 Eastern today is what time my segment is. So if those of you want to go on the watch what's going on today, and we don't want you to leave now, but IndiePodCon, I believe, is the website, indiepodcon.com or indiepodcon.org/virtual is where the live event's been going on since, 9 o'clock this morning or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's going on today and tomorrow.
So 2 days and lots of content, lots of speakers. They're using StreamYard. It's exclusively on Facebook.
Right.
So I think that, I haven't seen. Did you look and see what their attendance was this morning? Have you looked?
No, I haven't looked yet. No, I haven't.
I wonder if I can bring it up. So let's see here. Maybe I have to use this screen instead of doing it over there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Acast announced last week that the new listening numbers that they were seeing were up 7%. But on the Libsyn platform, we were off around 12%.
You were down 12%?
Correct.
Wow.
Overall, across all genres. And I think that there's certain genres that are, I think it depends on the show composition of your network. And what genres are there, and what where people are connecting to the content. And I think there's a lot of factors that go into why one network would show an increase, another network would show a decrease. It's hard to really trace it. I know they talk about like you just said, sports and recreation category was down 2% globally, and it says but other areas like education, entertainment, science, and medicine are all up 10%. Now, one thing that we did see as a distinction in our numbers too was we saw an increase in listenership on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So this Acast announcement only talks about weekend numbers. It doesn't talk about weekday numbers. So it says that they saw a 7% increase in listens globally March 21st and 22nd, which is a weekend.
Right.
But they don't say anything about what the numbers were during the weekday.
Well,
so which can be a little bit of a clue, because when you think about how people consume podcasts, it's on commutes, it's going to work, all this kind of stuff. Well, what's the consumption going on in the home as a comparison to what's happening during the workday
Right.
numbers, right? And I think that's where you're going to see the fall off numbers. I mean, we didn't qualify our numbers with any particular time frame, weekend, weekday. We're just talking across the whole network that we saw about a 12% decrease, which could be the case with Acast too, but they didn't put out an announcement saying that they had a decrease.
Yeah, I don't think we're seeing that. So we'll talk.
Really?
Yeah, we'll have something up next week about it. I'm still pulling the data together.
And I think it could be a temporary adjustment as people are spending a lot more time, trying to find out information about what's going on with this virus.
Yeah.
And people over time, hopefully, will get back to more normal kind of content consumption. But when you think about it, I mean, this is a mobile medium. Podcasting is a mobile medium. It always has been. And if people aren't mobile, then they're going to have to they're changing their behaviors. They're doing different things. They have the kids are not there, or the kids are there because they're out of school. They're having to take care of a lot of things, probably more like what you would see in the summer, right?
Right.
And summer tends to be a time frame when people listen to less podcasts.
Although I will say over the past 2 or 3 years, we haven't seen that dip.
Quite. Okay. I mean, has it dipped a little bit?
Yeah. I think the dip I'd say the last 3 years, the dip was gone.
Really?
Oh. Yeah. I it used to be like June, July, August, we'd see this, everyone's outside, but, I haven't seen a dip really over the past 2 or 3 years.
Well, that's actually good then.
Yeah, it is. There's definitely, you're going to see a dip right before Christmas, but then a surge right after Christmas. And there's these, these historic times. But oftentimes podcasters are, not putting out content. But I just tell people now, I think this is double down time. I think this is time you're at home.
Right.
Yeah, you're dealing with kids, but there's a lot of people. Okay, you don't have commute. You can get your 8 hours in 8.5 hours. You're not putting your 8 hours in to take, for those who are working from home, you don't take 10 hours or 11 hours to get 8 hours in because you're not on the subway. You're not in your car. You're not driving to lunch. You're, whatever it may be, walking to lunch. You're going to your refrigerator. You're not going out. So for me, it's almost like I've had to, the other day I was like, damn, I just put in like 11 hours and I didn't even realize I put in 11 hours. So I tried to I actually set my watch now to take a break, get up, walk around because I have to, and the rest of my team is kind of head down too. So, but hey, William, thanks for joining the Facebook Live. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think people's work patterns are much more flexible too. I think, especially in virtual work, you can tend to work later at night. You can work earlier in the morning. You can adjust your schedule, and it also is fantastic if you tend to work on a global basis, which I've been doing for years, where you have all these different time zones that you're working in. A commute doesn't really align with working with other time zones. I mean, because I do calls at 6 a.m, do calls at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, that kind of stuff. It just doesn't align very well with working in an office.
Well, I guess I can do Australia calls either late in the afternoon or very early in the morning.
Right.
And that's the majority of my stuff. And then we have, customers that are in Brazil. So that's not too much of a stretch time zone wise. Right. I don't do a lot of European calls. If we do, it's in the morning.
Right. No, I mean, but it's usually a fairly small window of time that you have to do that at each end of the day if you're going to live within kind of normal hours.
Yeah.
But, I did that for many years working for Spreaker. It was like maybe 2 hours at night and 2 hours in the evening is about all you had, So, but if you want to talk with, be accessible on a global scale, it's not like you're going to spend, 16 hours in the office.
We found that our tickets are down a little bit. Our support tickets are down a little bit, but our call volume, people calling and want to have a discussion or a demo or a meeting are up. So it's kind of swap. People now are more flexible. They're at the house. So 9 to,
somebody in person.
9 to 5, they can, they don't have their boss overlooking their shoulder, so they can take a 15-minute call to our support line,
right,
and talk to a team member and not have to, sneak out of the office to make the call. So that's been it. We've seen the call volume go up a little bit and the ticket volume go down. So,
right.
but sales are up. I don't know what
right.
you guys are seeing, but our sales are up.
And then also we're being flexible. We're in the process of reviewing our cancellation and kind of takedown policies too, to be a little more forgiving of people's fluctuations in their income and things like that, to maybe not be as strict on takedown or removal of content from the platform too, giving people more grace time or time to come back and do their shows when they can, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it's, if someone submits a ticket and they've got they've been laid off or something, we're going to work with them. It's
right.
It's
it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because all of a sudden you go from having an income to nothing.
Yeah.
But at least here in America, the majority of folks are going to get a check here in 2 or 3 weeks, so that'll be a little bit of relief for some folks. And we'll see how long this lasts. And my daughter, this is crazy. And then I know it's a little off topic, but when you're online, it's a 24-hour business, right? People are coming in, they're ordering, they're submitting tickets 24 hours a day.
Yep.
We're used to operating
time zones.
Yeah.
Right.
So just like you were talking about a second ago, well, my daughter and my son had both been laid off, and I said, get your insurance claims in, and I'm busting on them. They said, we can't get into the website. The website's down. I'm like, well, 3:00 in the morning, set your alarm and get up and submit it then when no one's doing it. They said, Dad, the website now listen to this, Rob. The website hours of operation were from 6:30 a.m. until 11 p.m. and they shut the website off from 11 to 6:30 in the state of Hawaii. Who has ever heard of such a thing?
I know I've heard of the states doing that kind of stuff.
Shutting.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you got to back the system up for an hour.
Yeah, but websites don't work like that.
We back up continuously.
Right.
We have if we have a database crash, I don't go back to tomorrow and pull the database. I don't get the database. I'm constantly mirroring.
Right.
Because if I have a database crash, I got to be able to it happens automatic. The switch flips and I'm on database B.
Right.
And nothing has changed. We haven't lost any posts, maybe 10 seconds worth of post, but we haven't lost a day's worth of posts. So when I said to them, actually in text, I said, BS, send me a picture. And they did. They sent me a picture of the website. We're currently closed. And I was astounded. So I reached out to some of my friends in Hawaii and said, ask the governor why this is the case. And no, of course, no response from the governor. But 6:30 to 11 was the only time they could. So they just sat there like one day, hitting refresh, and finally got an open port to be able to get in and get their stuff submitted. Yeah. Insanity. I'm like, I understand you're overloaded, but throw another log on the fire.
I mean, I guess it's a way of throttling demand, I guess.
Or
that's the only explanation that you can apply to it.
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't understand. Why would you build it? That must be on some antiquated old, like TRS-80 computer that's got a tape backup or something.
I mean, think of it this way. Does Amazon close?
No.
Right. No. So that's not normal behavior for a website, is to close during certain hours.
Mike Dell says Michigan does that as well.
Right.
So I don't know why a website's supposed to be 20. Get in the modern world, folks. They can make the website work for you.
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, to me, and I guess we'll see what happens. But Anyway, I'm watching a little bit on the virtual Indie PodCon. I just pulled it up here, and they've got about 50 people on the stream.
Oh, that's good.
So, as a matter of fact, Joe's on there right now, and he's got an ATR 2100 in his hand. Looks like he's got a wireless mic. I don't even see the wire hanging out. Yeah, there's a wire hanging out the bottom of it. So he's using StreamYard with an ATR 2100. So good on Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It'll be interesting. I think we're going to see more of those type of events, I think, coming up. I mean, we've always seen them, actually. It's just, I think there is going to be more of them. And it does raise some questions about, these conference organizers that have been doing physical world events. Are they going to shift to virtual events?
I hope not. We get this over. We can all elbow bump, or maybe we'll have, maybe the new swag will be the rulers with hands on them, so we can virtually keep the 6 foot separation and, high five that way. But it's so hard. It was just like before we went into lockdown here, and my sister had a friend over, and we were talking about it, and we're all like kind of joking, and we were maintaining like this, we're all trying to maintain separation even in my sister's house. And I said something, I raised my hand up, walked over, and we high five, and her husband was like, social separation, wash your hands, because we had forgot and got excited and did a high five. And so we're both at the, and the number one swag event for the next year or two is going to be, hand sanitizer.
Yeah, right.
Whenever they start making it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's people starting to make their own face masks and make their own sanitizers now. You start thinking about, Tesla's making, was it
making the ventilators?
The ventilators now.
I guess GM had to have their arm twisted a little bit yesterday to make ventilators. So.
Right. So, Todd, did you see the AdsWiz announcement that came out about them doing programmatic buying of host reads?
Yeah,
I thought that was an interesting little twist. I think that's been kind of the thing that we've been talking about for a while now, for actually many years, of trying to automate the buying of host reads. Right.
Easier said than done. So we'll see how they do on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the tool yet. It's called Audiomatic is the tool. It's an audio-centric programmatic buying platform to enhance podcast buying, planning and buying for large agencies that focused on host read.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I got your lower third up. Hey,
thank you, Todd.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had the one with the call-in line popped up there for a second. So.
Oh, okay. So we're going to start taking callers here, Todd?
Yeah. Do you want to do that? You want to open it up?
Sure.
Let someone come in? All right. So let me make sure I got the right dealio set up. So we're not going to make it into the show, but if you want to call in, there's the Skype number.
Right. Yeah. It'd be great to hear from folks out there in the trenches dealing with
I'm firing up the second Skype line. It's on an old Mac Mini, so it takes here it goes. I may have to approve you. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it. But if you want to dial in and give us your commentary on what's
Todd,
going on.
Did you notice that the Google Podcasts on the web now has a subscribe button?
Yeah, I heard that. I haven't investigated it. So
you could pull it up on the screen. It's just podcasts.google.com. And so it has a prominent link to visit the show website right there, and then a subscribe button. So when you click the subscribe button, it subscribes. Now, the question is, what's the experience when you subscribe? I'm not quite sure.
It's taken forever to load. I don't know why. It's just sitting here spinning on my machine. There it goes.
Podcast.google.com.
Yeah.
So click on Joe Rogan at the top corner there.
Like I said, it's loading slow. And then there's a subscribe. I don't want to subscribe to his show.
On the left.
Yeah. So what happens when you subscribe?
It just highlights. I don't see any functional.
So what happens when I go back to the main page? Is there that's what it is. On your subscriptions, that's what it shows up. Over here in the hamburger, there's a pull down that says subscriptions. So it shows up on the hamburger.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
yeah.
So it doesn't have any advanced capabilities like download to your desktop.
No.
So it's really just a favoriting process.
Yeah.
What it looks like it is.
Yeah. But still, it has a, pretty good experience.
Yeah. I wonder if there's some sort of notification process that goes in with that.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Right.
So here's how it looks like for our show, the last show. It even shows how long they are. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to call into the show, GNC Pod 2 is the Skype address if you want to call in and talk to us. The caller line is open now at WHYTZ.
So for some reason, our listing for the show doesn't have a link to the website. I wonder.
It says visit website.
Does it on yours?
Yeah.
It didn't on mine.
Huh.
That's weird.
Oh, I got to talk about this. So on Monday, I'm my 11-minute commute from the loft to my house or to my office. I had Howard Stern on, and Rob. It was horrible. They were doing their show from their studio. It was horrible. It sounds like they were talking in tin cans. They're using their webcam mics. I mean, I was simply astonished how bad it really, really was. And
well, I mean, a lot of these larger media folks, this is all new to them, doing stuff like podcasters have been doing for years. They just have never done it.
Yeah. Let's see if I can change this on to call in now. I'll change this. There we go. With the magic of an edit. It was, and I made a Facebook or post about it on how podcasters over the years have really perfected this. And to me, it as big as the Howard Stern show is, and iHeart, how they claim to be, this now iHeart, they're on Sirius XM.
Yes.
How whoop-de-doo they are, and they even have shows that are remote as well. Is how, and I guess Howard made a mention a couple of days later, and I didn't hear it, but someone told me about it. How he was having a team come in and set up a studio, and I thought to myself, just get a Rodecaster, hook it up to your computer and a good mic, and you're good. And they could all use Zoom. Their entire staff could Zoom in. So every one of their team members would just need a Rodecaster, a good mic. They would Zoom in, and they could do the show. They could have stuff up on the screen that they could talk about. They could play clips.
Right.
It's, to me, I was pretty astonished that.
Well, I mean, a lot of these guys have never had to deal with technical stuff, Todd. They don't know anything about microphones really, and how to set up a studio or how it all works, because there's always somebody else doing it for them, right? All they do is show up and talk on the microphone. So, it doesn't surprise me that a lot of these larger media anchors and broadcasters have no idea how to do any of this stuff, which really astonishes me.
In this day and age?
Right, that they didn't even have a curiosity about it, right?
And he always talks so much shit about podcasters on how it's amateur hour. Well, I'm going to tell you, it sounded like absolute amateur hour. And, you could tell the room he was in, there was, I guarantee you, the room he was in had bare floors, nothing on the walls. There was nothing in that room. He could have even just hung a blanket and done better than a big echo. I'm just like, I say, hey Howard, you got $1 million? I'll come in and do a consult for you. We'll get you set up in a day. And so big applause to all the podcasters out there that have been doing this for years for their homes and on kitchen tables and where they sound. You see it on TV. Watch mainstream,
or in the clothes closets, whatever you got to do, right?
Watch mainstream TV right now. They're having all these people come in via Skype, and I'm thinking to myself, man, how do they not know how this remote stuff works?
It's really basic tools. I mean, there's nothing fancy about what we're doing here.
And Mike and I did a little demo, and it's not perfect, but we did a little demo in my little demo studio here. That basically it's set this up now. Microphone, USB microphone, plug into a computer, turn Skype on, set the microphone to the microphone, set the output to your earbuds.
Right. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
Either Zoom or Skype. And guess what? Skype, you can record. Right in Skype, you can record.
Right.
And you have another person with the same setup. You're going to get the same quality that we have right now on this show. Same thing with Zoom. And Zoom, if your show's less than 45 minutes, you can record for free on Zoom. We're two people. You add another person, you need the commercial product. But the commercial product's like $100 something a year. And you can have 10 people on the show. You can have a quality recording that comes off it. This is not hard, ladies and gentlemen. This is not hard to do a remote guest.
Right. And if you're an expert that's going to be doing interviews on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or whatever, ABC or whatever, get a little order into Amazon.
Well, now stuff. Yeah. I had to order 2 LAN cables and something else. They say in April 22nd on delivery. So because it's not something that's needed because of COVID-19. So it's going to get, I may have to go over to Best Buy and pay highway robbery prices over there to get a LAN cable, because that's the only thing in this town that sells LAN cable.
But a lot of those stores don't carry much stock in the stores anymore either.
Right.
So they could easily get sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't even have to have like even our setup. I mean, we've got pretty basic setup here. I mean, we've got really good microphones here, but that's the only thing that's really fancy about what we have. The webcam that I use is like $59 or $39.
Well, we can tell you use a $59 camera, Rob. So
no, this is the 920. This is the 920. This is the best webcam that you can get.
We need to get you to put something in behind and get a few lights in there, and I think you'll be.
I will. No, I will.
No, I won't even talk about that camera right there. That camera's not a $59 camera.
Well, that's the Logitech 920, right?
No, the one I have in front of me is a 1300 NDI PTZ camera.
Well, you've got a high-end camera, right?
Right, but your camera is the $59 camera.
Right.
But if you juiced up your at least flip that thing to green screen and put a picture of something behind you. We could.
Right. No, and I'm definitely gonna be doing that. So.
Oh, here we go. We got a call.
Awesome.
Okay, so you'll need to turn off your. There you go. I think we were getting the feedback from your audio. Who's calling in?
Hey, it's Greg Riggle, guys.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just with this disruption in the marketplace, I've committed to coming out and using every technology available to me. I'm sure that I'm going to screw it all up for about as long as this whole mess lasts, but I'm going to do it.
Greg, you have a
great setup there.
you have a great background.
This is my office, which is a tiki bar.
Well, it looks fantastic. It's a great studio. The only thing we need to do is get you a mic that doesn't completely cover up your face, and I think you're bonus.
Yeah, well, I actually, with the advent of all this connection, with how we're having to do business now, I've actually been asked to be a regular part of 2 podcasts in the last 2 weeks. And so somebody was nice enough to send me this bit, and I hope it sounds okay. Does it sound okay?
It sounds okay. Your levels might be just a tweak low, but it might be on my end too.
Okay.
I mean, you sound great.
Oh, there you go. That's much better.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd give you guys a shout.
So where are you bunkering down at, Greg?
So I've been in Nashville for seems like 100 years, but I actually live about 30 miles outside of Nashville in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And like you guys were saying, I mean, I've worked out of my home for 6 years, and there was a period 97 through 2003 that I left CSAC, where I spent the majority of my career, and I worked out of my home then too. So this is aside from trying to get out there more virtually or whatever, this hasn't been a big change for me. I've been hunkered here in the closet. Well, this is actually a closet.
Oh, that's but you put those back and you can't even tell. It's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you're truly in a closet. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I guess I'll be coming out, so to speak.
I had for years when I was living in Maryland and I was running my online bulletin board, I was one of the first systems in the country that actually got connected up via the internet. It was really before the internet really kind of fully exploded. And I had all these modems and computers literally in a walk-in closet. So if I had to go in and I had a monitor or 2 in there, and it was the old CRT monitors, I'd open the door and I had a chair in there. I pulled the chair out. I walked in the closet and pulled the chair in behind me, sat down in the chair and I closed the door behind me. And I was literally working in a closet, and that little space cost me $300 a month to rent. I rented a closet for $300 a month.
There you go. It's a kind of a old school cubicle, right?
Yeah.
Got the I did take all the clothes and sports equipment and suitcases and all the various crap out of it, and I kind of there are bookshelves that you can't see, and a lot of other contraband.
It keeps the wife happy too, because you close the door when you're not doing anything in there, and she's happy.
Exactly. So she was actually, this was a spare bedroom, and she was actually instrumental in actually creating this as my office, because I used to work downstairs. There was much more space, and she was like, nobody else can do anything downstairs, so she surprised me and actually cleaned out this bedroom. And so we have I get accused a lot of cultural appropriation because of all the tiki pop crap that's back there, but it's my happy place. So I suppose I could get green screen or something and put a working office back behind there if I needed to at some point.
No, I
don't think you need to do anything,
no. You've got a backdrop there that a lot of people would die for. So make no changes. You're good.
No, it's crazy. It's fun.
Hey, Greg, give us an update on what's going on with the podcast music stuff that you're
podcastmusic.com. We are talking with Synth, and we'll be talking to you guys, I guess, offline. But Synth's Podfest?
Yeah.
Podfest,
in
yeah.
Orlando. We're talking with some players that I think are going to push this thing to the next level. I mean, one of the things that I've been preaching for the last couple years really is the idea that we need to bring the market to the rights holders before we can really push it over the edge, at least as far as the major labels, major publishers. And so I think that the people we're talking to currently are going to help us go back to the major rights holders. And these folks represent aggregating thousands of music users, if you will, or prospective licensees. And so I think that's going to give us the leverage that we need in order to have the labels say, yeah, there really is a market here. You know, it might not be enough to tell them that there are 50,000 podcasts that could be an addressable market. We have to have those 50,000 pretty much aligned to, as you always say, Todd, stroke a check. And so I think by talking to the people we're talking to right now, I think we're only a couple months away maybe from being able to go back to some of these major labels and get some of these iconic tracks that we've been looking for. So I hope that's
awesome.
the case.
Greg, it really boils down to the lawyers on most of this, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, I think that the labels have not been the problem. You know, I think the labels can recognize that there's a market out there, and there's a desire for people to use music in their podcast that's recognizable. What's been the holdup is essentially, you know, folks having to, you know, trying to figure out whether or not it would cannibalize their internal effort. I mean, their entire divisions dedicated to driving income in for the masters that they represent or the music they represent. So when somebody comes from the outside and says, hey, look at the big market over here, you know, they go slow. And you know, that's not an issue. So no, I think overall we're good. One thing that we noticed at Podfest, which, you know, how long we've been coming around you guys and the industry, maybe 2 years?
At least 2 years.
Yeah. So, you know, we've tried to learn as much as we could, as fast as we could. And I think about 15 months ago, after a couple conventions, we kind of made the determination and pivoted, saying what folks really want is, you know, this recognizable stuff. They want 30 seconds of Back in Black. But over the course of the last 15 months and a few big podcast conventions where we've gone in and had a booth, you know, we see you guys all the time. What we're discovering is that more and more people are really starting to enjoy the offering that's up there right now, which is 100% bulletproof. It's 600,000 plus tracks available. And we're getting a lot of positive response on the stuff that's there now. So that's encouraging.
Yeah. For a while.
Plus the fact you have to recognize that if we're gonna start working with these big providers, you know, they just want a clear path to not being vulnerable as far as everything that's been aggregated. You know, they don't want they don't want any secondary copyright infringement, anything like that. So they are looking at the idea that the stuff that's up there now will completely suffice for a lot of the stuff that they may be offering in the marketplace. So I think they're going to say, you know, it's like, yeah, come on through the door, but we're going to make sure that our people use this stuff because it is bulletproof. It has been. So,
do you think too that because people are doing more high end on their production, that maybe now they're looking for more beds and looking for stuff that's existing instead of, you know, they already resigned to know that they can't play clips, so they have to use some sort of a cleared bed?
Yeah, I think so. I think that people want their podcast to be more engaging, and we've said from day one that music is the most engaging thing on the planet. I mean, advertisers use it, and all forms of audio visual entertainment have used it for years and years and years. Millions of dollars are made in this production music world. So yeah, I think people are experimenting, and hopefully they're getting feedback from their listeners that, like, yeah, that was cool. That was cool what you did.
I mean, it's true that podcast is really the only medium that really hasn't had music accessible to them. I mean, at the same level that TV and radio and movies have had for years to add that depth of experience.
Yep.
I agree with you. And I mean, I think a lot of podcasters have had to kind of create their own music. Really, at the end of the day, that's been really the only real viable path up until just the last few years, when until sites like yours and a few others out there have popped up that have given access to like soundtrack type music, which has been helpful to a lot of people.
And I'm hoping that I mean, the stuff that's up at Source Audio, they power podcastmusic.com. I mean,
right.
There are a lot of folks that are kind of indie musicians, indie artists that that create for production music catalog across the board. But primarily, the stuff that's there is stuff that's used by commercial users. So that's the big outfits, the most successful production music catalogs out there. But with this disruption of this virus, and if you happen to be a musician and maybe some of your income's going to go away by virtue of the fact you can't play gigs anymore, maybe there'll be a lot more cool stuff come through that sounds like an artist, doesn't sound like a music production catalog, and maybe everybody now has the time to do it. Almost everybody has a home studio, so it's probably that production music solution is probably going to get a lot more fresh over the coming months. We're also one thing that we've been working on. It's not that sexy on the other than to say that I guess it's not that sexy internally, but we're doing an artist submission program through podcastmusic.com, which we hope will really, we hope the sound of the catalog of the stuff that's available up there right now via that smart license and inside the subscription that podcasters make. We hope that's going to be a big boon to the cool stuff that's up there. Because you effectively, if you let an artist who's making his own stuff, who's viable and interesting and makes great music, you let him through the turnstile and basically allow him to onboard his music onto podcastmusic.com. You're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the indie guys, which are edgier, and we're still in talks with major guys, and those kinds of guys that take the initiative, make their own records, and then kind of distribute it out there to platforms like ours. Those are the people that eventually end up on the majors because they aggressively market what they do. So we're pretty excited about the artist submission program. One of the ways, and I didn't mean to hijack the show.
No worries.
Yeah. One of the things we're excited about is the idea that with the artist submission program, if you have a friend or an uncle, or if the band down the street that's practicing while you're trying to do your podcast, you'd want to feature them on your podcast, and you didn't have the knowledge or the skill set to get the licenses from them, you could literally direct them to the artist submission program at podcastmusic.com, and they could, in effect, authorize the use of their music in your podcast, and you guys meet there at podcastmusic.com, and you're done. You have the benefit of the smart license, and you have the ability to provide them some kind of compensation for using it on your show. So that's kind of a cool little deal too. And so we're hoping that will be up and running very soon, 60 days maybe.
Well,
I've already got some pilots.
It shouldn't be so hard, you know. But when it's, you've got 5 or 6 different license types and, who owns the copyright, and one person has the lyrics, the other person owns the music, and it's just, it's insane.
It's crazy. And I spent all those years in the side of the industry that was, kind of responsible for a lot of that complexity. But, and so that's now why I work on behalf of both the rights holders and the licensees. That's my perspective, because I say, hey, the direct link between the podcast producer and the creator of the music, the direct link, that's the way to go. Well, so you can circumvent a lot of this stuff.
It was ASCAP's job to squeeze every last penny out of that music.
No question.
And every one of those groups had that goal, and then it ended up giving these layers and layers of bureaucracy that after Napster, absolutely, completely, you have downloadable content. Oh my God, you are a scourge of the earth when it comes to music. But if you can stream, you're good. But if you are downloadable music, man, oh man, it's insane.
Well, there's no public performance download, and so that's the other thing we've had to kind of talk about with the rights holders is the idea that's hold up, because it's not going to be as expensive as you think it is to make these licenses available to people, because you don't even have a dog in the hunt for the majority of it. If I've learned what you guys tell me, it's like still pretty much an RSS feed conveyance at this point, right? So they're sometimes out of the picture, but no, it's going good. So don't let me hijack your show. I just wanted to see if all my stuff worked.
Sure, it did. And here's the thing that's interesting, Greg, is that you look at SoundCloud now, and all these folks that were trying to sneak in SoundCloud the back door by putting music in as a podcast, they're just getting crushed. Boom, 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 boom. We see what we get is we get an email with 30 shows that have been removed. They do it in groups. We don't get them one at a time. They'll say, oh, here's 30 shows we've removed today because of copyright violation, and they're off. I mean, they don't just take the episode down; they take the show down. And
I mean that's on Spotify, right?
Yeah, I mean Spotify. Sorry, yeah, Spotify.
Right.
So yeah, I think the solutions are right around the corner, and if you know the right people to ask. I always used to talk on panels, and I would tell people, and I'm not sure they believe it, but it's like you got to have some stuff. You got to have certain things in place if you want to make a business out of your podcast. Probably need a lawyer a time or two throughout the year. You need a great host. You need a great hosting company. Podcastmusic.com. We can be your music guide, and you're quite literally, a few phone calls, a few emails, a few texts away from being able to make a connection with the music industry that you didn't have before you came on board. So, we can be the music.
Absolutely. And I know that you guys have been doing a lot to expand the space in that regard.
Yeah, we're trying, man. It's not easy. Not
cheap either, from my understanding.
Yeah, we've been trying. I mean, I've been trying to teach the rights holders, the big guys. It's like, the magic of this, of how scaling this audience, how incredible it could be. But they always like they think, quite frankly, they think every podcast is Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So wouldn't we all wish we could be on that $30 million paycheck payroll as well?
Right.
The guys that taught me licensing back in the day, they always used to say, they call it stack of nickels. So you have thousands of little licenses, little value licenses, but it adds up, then you can disperse it back to the writers and publishers. But one of the guys that I worked with, he always used to say, would you rather sell a guy cow or 500 hamburgers?
Right.
Right.
So
what's more usable, right?
The profit margin on 500 hamburgers.
So I speaking of Joe, I like Joe's show, but to me, it's like he's not doing anything that's much more incredible than 1,000 other podcasters out there doing. And matter of fact, there's probably 1,000 podcasters that have better production than Joe Rogan. It's just that Joe was early. Joe got his name known. Joe has grown. But it amazes me the number of super incredible shows that are doing interviews, and they may not be smoking weed during the show, but at least they're having these great conversations. So I think people can copy and mimic a lot of what a Joe does, but of course Joe's unique in that he has everyone in the studio. But now I don't know, is he doing in-studio interviews? Is he doing remotes? I haven't listened to a show recently, so we'll see how his show dynamic changes with the current times.
I consume his show. I confess, I probably listen a lot because I consume it just the snippets off of YouTube.
Sure.
So I think the interesting thing about that show is I don't know how they do it. I think he's got a nice Rolodex, and I think he's a really smart guy. I love the guests on that show. I mean, I kind of listen around Joe in order to hear what the guests have. They're really interesting guests. So, I mean, there's a delta there that probably hasn't been figured out by a lot of really good podcasters. It's like, how do I get the great guest? Right?
Yeah. Right. And plus, he makes them come to the garage, and
which he may not be doing that as much in the future here.
That's what I'm saying. What will the show be like without? Are they going to, is he still going to have people in the studio? So.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about too is the whole download bias, right? So as Todd and I have kind of talked about in the show many times too, is that, sure, the download is the metric of podcasting, but at the end of the day, there's always pushback on that, saying, well, podcasting is more of a click play experience now. I mean, at some point, does podcasting kind of shift into a perception where the download really isn't considered a risk of the rights holder anymore, just because people aren't drag and dropping MP3 files around like they used to in the early days of the medium? People are just click and play, and nobody's storing these media files, or very few people are storing them, or let alone knowing actually where to even go get the media file to rip the music out of the MP3, which I think the rights holders have always been scared of, right? And the reason that they've been scared of download is the loss of control of the content. But Greg, I mean, do you have those kind of conversations with these folks as they talk about licensing?
Yeah.
First of all, Rob, blasphemy that you would talk about the download going away. But anyway, go ahead, Greg.
I'm not saying it's going away. I'm just saying that the experience of the listener is definitely changing in its perception, and it basically, I think, is less of a risk to the rights holders.
Yeah. I think that I mean, from the PROs, that's the kind of the context I bring to it. The PROs, I mean, I think they found the ruling that there was no public performance in a download. They found that ruling to be kind of that was difficult if you were trying to build licensing propositions inside these different industries. So I think they kind of looked the other way on podcasting for a long time because there is no public performance in the download. But as far as the users are concerned, I don't think it matters. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not a tech guy, but most of this happens audio to ear. It's a progressive download, so you can't really feel the difference between the download and the stream, right? So, or at least that's my user experience. So, and that used to annoy us at PRO too, because it's like, well, it feels like a stream. People are being served music, so why aren't these progressive downloads at least carved out of that decision so we can license those?
Right.
But that was kind of the ace in the hole, the idea that it's going to act like a stream, but technically it's a download. So go away, Mr. ASCAP. Go away, Mr. Go away, Mr. Six.
Right.
So, I have no knowledge one way or another. I don't think the rights holders feel that the lack of ability to license the download for the public performance music, I don't think they much care one way or another. And if we start dealing with these companies that have aggregated a bunch of content anyway, chances are they may even have a license arrangement with ASCAP, PMI, CSAC, and GMR. So, the whole performing rights aspect of it is going to be taken off the table anyway. So, and I can't, I think you're right. I think that the labels that own the master, they get nervous when you're downloading the master.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if all of the listening apps just decided to do a change the file name on the download and store it? It could be even encrypted in a file folder on the device, so the listener couldn't actually go in and actually get the MP3 file and find it in their local system. I know some of the platforms in the past have done such a thing as a way of protecting those copyright holders. I don't know, Todd, that may be blasphemy as well to think about that aspect too, of not being able to go in and find the MP3 file. But I do believe that that's been done in the past. I mean, as you think about the click play experience right now in a browser, that's kind of what happens. It doesn't completely download the file. You click play and it progressively streams to the player, but there is no file that you can go in and capture, as far as I know, Todd.
Well, that's not the case though. If you
but where would it be? Is it in the download folder, or
the only way you can protect media truly, even in a private podcasting solution, is in the app. Anytime you put it web-based and put the web player up there, that file is physically linked in that metadata, and you can get the file. So
but if the player doesn't have the media file link in it, like Libsyn doesn't display the actual media file link in the player.
But I can go to that source code and I can see where that media file is. I can look at the source on that HTML page and very easily find that link.
No, but I mean, we don't display it in the embed code, is what I'm saying. So you can't actually find it in the web page. So it's actually just like it's like a token that points back to the server.
Well, you don't provide a download button on the.
I mean, you can do it that way, right? So it is possible to download those files. But I'm just trying to think of a way that we can get around this whole perception of that download is a big risk, right?
Well, here's the crazy part. You can turn on Spotify or Pandora, and you can turn what did I do as a kid? When I was a kid, and it was before the internet existed, I had a cassette player set up with a line in from I listened to Top 100 show or Top 100 site, and as soon as the song came on, I wanted to capture. I hit record and captured the cassette recording, and I could take that to my car, and I had the album.
That's right.
That's
true.
Someone can still rip the audio they can rip the audio today if they want. I used to rip audio. There was a program that would listen to streaming music. It knew where the break was. It would rip, classify, ID3 tag, everything, and put it in your library.
Yeah,
from a live stream.
Client software. I agree with you, Todd. There was client software that recorded streams.
Still is.
So that stuff's been around for decades now.
So they need to get over it.
Kind of out. I mean, the presumption there is that you're doing it precisely for that. Take it from your TV room to your car, back in the day. So it's inside the circle of family and friends. So it doesn't really constitute a quote public performance. So Yeah,
Right.
that was never really an issue. Although they were happy to charge you an additional surcharge for taping. Remember the whole home taping act that was out there? That so they found a way to get a little bit.
As soon as you get on an airplane and go to any Asia country, you go and you can buy 25 CDs of 25 albums for $5. So the ripping was going on overseas for many years. You come back with a stack of all the albums that you didn't, or you go online and order a hard drive, and they would send you a hard drive with 50,000 songs on it. So, yeah,
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, I have.
Yeah, but people aren't doing that stuff as much as they
of
used to.
course
in the
not
past.
anymore
No.
because they've got
I was
they're paying.
working with a platform called Replay Radio back in 2002 that you could set up to record live streams, right? And that could be music, it could be a podcast, and I actually encourage my listeners to record my show.
Everyone's paying $9.95 or $14.95 a month to Apple for all this library that they may already own. So we're so stupid. We're spending more money on music today than we ever did.
I spend some time thinking about the idea that over the last 30, 40, 50 years, all I've done, I've just rebought things.
Right.
How many cars do we buy? How many refrigerators do we buy? How many, homes do we buy? How many, I just rebuy stuff, So I guess it's okay that they're now charging $29 for a vinyl album that, that we used to spend $2.99 for, $3.99 for.
So when I was in my DJ days, I would buy 12-inch singles. That was a thing for the DJs, and I would buy 3 or 4 of some songs because if you're trying to mix those, you would have 2 or 3 tables, and you'd have the same song on 2 different tables.
They were
and
extended mixes.
Wait, Todd. I didn't know that you had a DJ day.
Yes, back in the 80s, I did. I was a DJ, and I could handle.
Tell us about this.
I could handle 4 LPs on Wheels of Steel, and I could mix with the best of them. I'm telling you straight up. So I literally have, and matter of fact, I've been buying storage boxes because all my stuff was in milk cartons or those basically would handle 4-gallon. They're perfect for putting an album in, except the top of them didn't quite protect the top of the album, so you couldn't stack them too high or certain way. So I've been buying boxes now, storage boxes for I have over 10,000 vinyl records.
What?
Yeah, over 10,000. Yeah, over 10,000. Wow. Think about that investment. So now it's like you said, Greg.
You're gonna rebuy it somewhere else,
or
you're ripping them, but you're getting you're putting it on the LP, and I've got a nice LP player, but nothing is better than listen to vinyl, in my opinion. I'm kind of one of those, but I don't spend $8,000 on an LP player or a liquid cooled. So some people do that. But yeah, it's been kind of an ongoing project of mine is to get all that stuff reorganized. And now you go into thrift shops and stuff. They say, hey, pick 25 albums for $5. So
at least you don't have the problem I have, Todd. So having been in the business, I currently have about 2,500 LPs of the same album in my attic.
That's funny.
I did a project many years ago, and this is pre-internet days, and we had this ingenious. It was really something we were very proud of. We had a kind of one of the first brand extensions as a recording company for the Old Farmer's Almanac, and so we made some records. They were kind of Americana records, but one record in particular, our distribution channel went away. They had these things called Old Farmer's Almanac General Stores, and they were like in malls. And we sold 3,000, 4,000 albums the first week, and we're like, "That's it. We've done it. We've broken the code. We're going to get rich." and then something happened, and the our distribution channel went away. All the mall stores went away. So I ended up with 2,500 copies of a single album in my.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so I don't know what I'll do with them, but
Well, you have
dragging them around.
Yeah, bring them to some event and give them out to people. So what happened with me was during the transition from LPs to CDs, all these DJs were getting rid of their LPs, and I would just like, hey, I'll give you $10 for your 400 LPs.
Yeah.
And I would load my car up with LPs I got for free. So, or literally for free, because they were putting transition everything to CDs. So, I got this huge vinyl collection.
If you've got thousands of those extended play discs that were made for DJs, there's some collectible stuff in there.
Oh, I know there is.
Yeah.
And some of those all have 2 or 3 of those of a single song.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so those of you that don't know what a 12-inch single extended, it's a full-size LP with one song on it.
Right.
And it's extended mix, different riffs, and we use those, there are records that have like grooves in them, because that's a place that you just sit there and right on that groove, you know where to put it, and that's where you were rocking it. And
they didn't make very many of them. I mean, so that's why some of them are collectibles.
Yeah,
because they made years ago. I worked for a music distributor, and we had a what we call a rack, and it was basically a DJ collective, and the DJs would come physically to the plant and pick up their 12-inch discs for the week.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of.
I'd have to go to the music store every week from about 84 to 88. That was my prime time of doing DJ work when I was overseas, and we had one music store that would get in 12 inches, and we would like stand outside the store because they knew they had the fresh shipment in. And anyway, we've gotten way off podcasting here, but
yeah, sorry once again. I just wanted to see if the call in worked. So,
yeah, it did.
I enjoyed it very much.
So it'd be cool to have an old DJ show. And here's the crazy thing: is I had 4 tables that were, what's the model number? They're Audio Technica tables. They're real expensive now. I sold all 4 of them. They're like worth $3,000 a piece now. And I think I sold them for like $50 each or something when I finally kind of quit. That's my only regret, is getting rid of some of those hard to come by tables that were so famous.
Very balanced.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. But anyway. So Rob, you learn something new every day, don't you, on the show?
I certainly do. I didn't know that you had a DJ days in your background.
There was a guy by the name of David Fielder. And I don't know where he is today. He was, I think, from Rochester, New York. We were in the Navy together, and he was one of the early dudes that was doing breakdancing, and rapping really wasn't his forte. But he was a DJ, and we would sit in his room and do mixes and make mixtapes. And so he kind of taught me. That was how I kind of learned from this guy named David Fielder. And it was, again, 84, 85 time frame. When you're in Guam, there's not a lot of entertainment. So you just learn to do weird things.
Yeah. I don't know how weird that is, but I guess that's.
Well, it was, the whole,
unusual.
you got a 10 by 15 room. You got 4 turntables, set up speakers that are blowing your earballs out. Really, you're had a great time. But anyway. So, all right. Well,
we're
Greg.
at the bottom of the hour, right?
Yeah, almost there. Greg, thanks for joining us and jumping in.
Thank you for letting me try this out.
Yeah,
this is fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're a little long here. But if there's anybody else that's in the chat room that wants to jump in real quick, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to kind of wrap things up here.
I can just leave, right?
Yeah, you can just leave. Just hang up. It's
Show
good.
me the door. Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks, Greg. See you later.
Right. Thanks, Greg. Take care.
You never know where the new media show is going to be taken on a daily basis. But if there's anybody who wants to jump in real quick, you can do so. I bet we're going to pull the plug here in a few minutes. So this is what I'm talking about, Rob. This is what we can kind of have a little fun with the show a little bit now that we're in these weird times. We can still do our thing.
Sure.
But open up the call line and let people come in and let us know what they're doing. And you can learn about people's past.
Right. Learn new things about Todd Cochran. Right. Yeah, I did see that Deezer did a big podcast makeover of their app, and it looks really, really good.
Yeah, they did. So, and oh, here comes somebody.
Oh, somebody's coming in.
Oh, it's Greg again.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay. I think he hit the.
Oh no,
the
it's not. It's not Greg. It's
I don't know if you can see any video.
Can
you hear me?
I can't see yet. We can hear you. This is Rick.
Yep, it's Rick. Yeah, I had my video set up, but I don't know why it's not coming through. Oh, anyway, for some reason.
Well, we can see your logo. So, Rick Savoy, one of the old school, long time podcasters. You're part of the OG.
Yeah, how are y'all doing?
We're doing good.
Been watching the show, and it's great as usual. You know, you guys are my how do we put it? The mastermind.
Oh, okay, we're the mastermind.
I know you hate that term, but you are my mastermind. So I just want to let you guys know that.
Hey, thanks, Rick. And I should have brought this up earlier, but Rob, did we want to talk about the potential sponsorship that they came in?
Oh, well, I suppose we could.
You saw my response to the email, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you think that ended it?
Well, probably. We shall see. But
so,
the team behind Nick Qua, that's doing his new podcast, reached out to us and wanted to promote his new podcast on the New Media Show. So yeah.
So Rick, what do you think my response to that was?
I tell you what, I would. Well, I'm not.
Yeah. So no, there is. Nick is. If Nick wants to sponsor this show, he is going to have to recognize and talk about the 99% of the rest of the space that he does not talk about now.
I think that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. And that's what we told them. So,
yeah. And I actually, Rob made a comment and I copied Rob's sentence and I put it in and I said basically, and I multiplied this by 3 and then I made a comment below. It wasn't too harsh. I actually said, well, it was kind of, I don't want to read what I said, but I was kind of blunt. New Media Show blunt.
You know what? I always hold out some hope that maybe Nick Qua will, maybe turn around.
Yeah, I mean, we've always hoped that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I would love to have him come on the show and talk about it. He hasn't been willing to do such a thing up till now for some reason. So
he's starting his own podcast show about podcasting.
Right.
But he doesn't acknowledge except for his little bubble of, so Nick or your PR team, if you're watching, you have to talk more than about NPR and all the little bubble of companies in the New York, Boston area.
He's built his tribe. That's his tribe.
Well, it is his tribe. I agree with that. I talked to Nick just a few weeks ago, back when we were doing events. And that's what he focuses on. And I guess he has every right to focus on that. It's just, if he wants to be involved in this show, that would be a contradiction to what we're all about.
No, our reputations would be called out. You all would call us out and say, "What are you doing?"
Right.
I wouldn't. I don't know about that. I wouldn't think any less of you for having for getting involved with Nick somewhat. I would think that it might be a good thing for the indie space to be able to get us out there. I'm just saying I don't know that that's going to happen anytime with him. His mindset is completely different from ours.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that the right thing to do would be to have him as a guest on the show. I think that would be the first attempt. It's the same thing, like having Hernan from Wondery on the show. It was, it's good for him and it's good for the community to hear from those folks.
And I think too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say, I know that there is a contingency of podcasters out there that definitely wouldn't take kindly to that. They wouldn't take that well, and I understand that, but also it's important for us all to understand that the only way that we're really going to break through and get our message out to what I like to call big media is to take that step.
Right.
Well, we don't, it's not that we've not tried. Many of us have communicated with Nick to deaf ears. And even when there's been big announcements doesn't matter if it's us, if it's Libsyn, Podbean, doesn't matter who makes the big announcement. He refuses even to acknowledge that we exist. Not even, okay, so there's two layers. The companies and the podcasters. And when he doesn't acknowledge either group, then there's a fundamental, if he's going to do a podcast about podcasts, he's going to have a very, very narrow audience if he just talks about, his tribe and his group. We try to be inclusive here to everyone. We've had the Pocket Cast folks on. We've had like Hernan on. We make invitations to people all the time to come on, and they don't. So it's not from a lack of trying. Rob and I want to have all these folks come on and share their stories and what they're doing, and we build this interrelationships together. We see each other at events. We wave at each other, but we really never have this huddle up time where we're talking about the common good of the space besides some of the associations we belong to.
Right.
If I may interject something here just briefly about that, I think that it is possible, and I'm not making any predictions here, but I think that it is possible that this COVID-19 situation that we're experiencing now, where we're all at home and we're kind of shut in and we're having to do more things remotely, this might actually become an opportunity to break that ice somewhat. I was watching Robin Sales. I was watching this video that she put out, about a 5-minute video, and she was talking about how a lot of the late night show hosts were all of a sudden saying, well, we're all shut at home, we're doing it from home, and we're doing it without our writers, we're doing it without our producers, although there probably is a little bit of that still going on, but
sure,
they're kind of doing it at home with webcams and with whatever they have available, and they've got their families involved and things like that. And there's a learning curve here. They're having to all of a sudden go from a very highly produced show that they have really little involvement with other than having to sit down in front of the camera and the mic do it, to all of a sudden having to do this remotely pretty much on their own. And
right.
The results are not always great. And as you were talking earlier, we were talking about Howard Stern and how terrible that turned out. And Howard Stern his attitude is not as Nick Quas, but it's been sort of, it's poo-poo the indie podcaster. Podcasting is not, it's just wannabes, radio wannabes playing. And he was always, the comments that he's made before, I'm not going to go into, but you know what I mean? And all of a sudden he's found himself in the situation where he's having to, in a sense, learn how to do this, what we've been doing all this time. And I'm thinking that, this might be an opportunity based on Robin's video. She brought up some very good points, that it's actually an opportunity for two things. One, for us to learn from them and see what how they're starting off. But it's also an opportunity maybe for them to learn from us, for us to shine and maybe be able to step up our game a little bit and show them how it's done. And maybe that might be a way for us all to sort of break the ice there.
I think too is that I'm knowing Howard Stern and the perfection that he is. I would bet by Monday that his show is squared away. And I bet you they've got everyone up on the speed, and
Right.
he's a quick learn. And don't get me wrong, we may learn something from him before it's all over too. So I'm going to be keeping my ear to the ground. Even though we're having a little fun right now with him, he is going to figure this out, and you're going to have that same Howard Stern sound from his studio. And I'm sure we may see some new tools come out of this, which I think we all need. And at the same time, what we do is he'll get a different perspective. It's not going to stop him from calling in, because they do gags all the time by calling in to talk shoe and to a variety of different live platforms where people are doing a show, and they usually find the most wonkiest show out there, and they call in as a gag guest or a caller and do some pretty rude things. And that's not going to change. He's still going to be a riff on that and have fun. But because he does find some of the really, really cringeworthy content that's out there that the most of us would even kind of roll our eyeballs on a little bit. But no, what's to say that Stern couldn't call into this show? He could call in the show, and I'm sure that would be a great conversation to have with him about his experience. And who knows, maybe that opportunity be available at some point. But that would
could all have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, we'd all hit the jackpot on that one. But is it gonna? We're not making no money. He is, and so he ultimately gets the last laugh because he's still getting paid. Big dollars.
Right.
I just
But
think
if he
it's a
keeps
little ironic
doing his
that-
show like
that
he
we-
did the other day, he may not be.
Yeah, it was like I kind of it sounded like Tin Can. It was like he was talking to Tin Can, So yeah, I'm sure he's cringing at the same time. He's doing best with what he has, but I bet by Monday it all changes.
Well,
As it should.
to be fair about it too is that now, as you know, I've been podcasting for many, many years, and I'm one of the OGs, so to speak. But the show that I do, the one that I do on my day job that I get paid for, two-way radio show, the company that I work for, we've always done it with 3 mics in one room, and it's been fine. And occasionally we'll have a guest on that remotes in, and that's not a big deal. But we've always been right there with each other. Of course, with this situation, we've been forced to separate like everyone else has. And we did a COVID-19 episode that we just posted last night, and we ran into the same technical issues because, obviously I'm doing it in my home studio, which unfortunately I wish you could see because I have all the lights on. But, I was set up here, had a roadcaster going and everything, and I sounded great. One of our co-hosts, he was at the office, and he could do it from the office, and he had sufficient bandwidth. But the president of the company, Danny, he was at home, and his bandwidth was not great, and we were using Microsoft Teams to hook up because that's what the company had, and his audio was very problematic, and you could really tell the difference, and in some cases it was almost unintelligible at some points, and I had to really work with that audio to get it up to where people could really tell what he was saying very well. And I was really, I was really frustrated because here I am, a seasoned podcaster, and I know how to do this stuff, and I should be able to get him up to speed, but there are extenuating circumstances. Now, he's out in a little more of a remote location, and his bandwidth is not great. In fact, it was, he has issues with that sometimes. So there's some extenuating circumstances you can't do anything about. So, I mean, I understand that, and with these new guys getting on board, and in the case of Howard Stern, now, he has money. He can, Monday, like you said, he can come in and throw all the money he wants at this thing and make it work.
Yep.
A lot of us don't have that advantage. So, it's now I've learned from things that we did yesterday with our podcast, and I'm going to try to fix some of those going forward. and which is good. But once again, we don't have that kind of money that maybe Stern has, and that say like Jimmy Kimmel has, and some of these other late night hosts have, that they can just throw into it and fix it all.
So
that's
here's my suggestion to you. Make sure, number one, everyone's on a wired connection. No one's on Wi-Fi.
Yep.
If that means stretching a LAN cable to wherever the router is, that's what you got to get done. Number two is to make sure that those are on slow connections. Tell the kids they can't be on the internet for the next hour. No gaming, nothing. Because it doesn't take that much to get good quality audio. Number three, turn the video off. When the that's the big thing. If you're having bandwidth issues, is turn the video off, because the audio doesn't take that much bandwidth. And go on, use something like Zoom, Rick, because he's got a browser. He can load that browser. It's not going to, unless it's a corporate machine that's locked all down, I guarantee you they can use Zoom or, again, one of the meeting software applications, and I think you'll be okay. But, I've had to do that before. Tell the kids, stop gaming. As a matter of fact, when I was in Hawaii, I would make the rounds before the show, and I'm like, are you doing head-to-head with someone online? Yes, okay. 10 minutes, you got to pull the plug, because I'm going live and I need the bandwidth. So,
well, in his case, he's out in, like, when I'm talking about a remote area, I'm talking about a more rural area.
Sure.
So his bandwidth is really terrible.
Mine is my rural area is 13 down, 3 up.
Yeah, so we're trying to get him situated with that, but he's had issues with his service provider there in that area, so it hasn't been very good where he is. So that's what we're trying to work through. The funny thing is that they've got a decent cable coming, down in his area, down his street, but for some reason they can't connect that up to the house. So
$13,000 for me to run a cable to where I'm at rurally to basically bring cable to my house. It's 1.25 miles away.
Yeah.
So
it's those are all issues we're having to work through, doing remote podcasting and streaming and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate because I'm in an area where my bandwidth is pretty decent, where I can stream. I can do my Drink with Rick thing on Saturday nights, and it's not really a big issue. That sort of, doing these podcasts. But for some people that are having to deal with very remote or rural bandwidth issues, that's it's always going to be an issue until they get that fixed.
One thing Jennifer just said in the chat room: double enders. So you guys can go back to that. That's what we did in the very early days when everyone had crappy bandwidth.
We've done that. Actually, you and I've done that before,
yeah.
I think sometime back. Yeah, that's actually what we're working on for the next episode, is just doing a double ender. I suggested that to him yesterday. So we're looking at that.
All right.
Some of the streaming platforms are going to be implementing the double enders concepts as well. So I believe Squadcast supports the double ender recording concept right now, and I believe StreamYard is going to be implementing it very soon. So you're going to be able to get better audio quality out of even these live streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, thanks for coming on. I think we're approaching 2 hours here. I think we better pull the plug.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Hey, happy to be on. So, Rob, I think maybe that's what we'll do. If you're part of this audience, and we'll be here next Saturday with you again. And if you want to join us for the live conversation, just have have Skype loaded up, and we'll advertise that. I don't want to announce it. Maybe I did earlier. I don't want to really announce it over the show because we got prank callers as well, but we'll put the Skype address up during the show live. You'll be able to see that, and we'll make some time for you to come in and just, we can jaw the jaw, and we're all just we're all bouncing off the walls.
And I think it's one thing for us to think about too, is maybe we do a second show that's just call-ins.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just up to, your time and my time.
Yeah.
But we're definitely, we definitely have more time now because we're not doing events.
Yeah.
So we might be able to do a second show that's just call-ins.
Yeah. And we could have that, it doesn't have to be on Saturday either. So let us know what you think about that. Right. And because, I think a lot of us are going to this because we understand My mom said it yesterday. My sister has a laundromat, and they're still manning it. They're essential service, so they have one person there. And my mom said yesterday she's starting to see the anxiety level of people go up. And they're getting a little stir crazy, and they just want to talk to someone that's not in their own house, or maybe moms and dads who got the kids, and everyone just needs a little pressure relief valve. So I think that's my thought process here on this is if we have extended time on Saturday where you guys can kind of come in and let us know what you're doing, and we can release the pressure valve for some of you. I think that will be good, because I think everyone's feeling. I felt like heck on Monday of last week. I was just like, oh my God. I actually took a long walk because I just needed to get out and do things. Tomorrow, we're going to do a family project. We're going to take the entire family and we're going to do chainsaw work. We're going to cut some stuff down that needed to be done. Plenty of time to get outside, do some social distancing. We're in the country. We can do this. But everyone else is kind of stuck in their abodes, and
Yeah, it could be a long time.
it could be 2, 3, 4 more weeks before we see any relief. Depending on where you're at, it could be longer.
Even it could go longer. I think it's very likely it'll go longer. Yeah.
You hope these measures we've all been doing is going to pay off. In my community, I said there's a very, very few cases, but I'm in rural America. There's no big city here, but 110 miles away, there's 3,000 cases in Detroit. So,
right. And how much testing has been done? So, how much do we really know?
Well, we don't. And if we'd had everyone tested, we'd probably find out the death rate on the thing is like, flu level. But that's the problem. We just don't know.
Right.
But it's
much we don't know.
It's actually higher because the hospitals don't get overrun with flu, but they're getting overrun with this.
Right.
So, but be safe, stay separated, keep your hands clean, all that stuff. I don't have my COVID-19 thing ready to run today, but we've all heard it all. Rob, any parting thoughts before we pull out of here?
No, I think it might be really great for us to do a call-in show in addition to our Saturday show. So
all right.
I'm just really supportive of that.
So think of the time and date we'd do that, Rob, and we'll put it on it. We'll announce it and promote it.
Yeah, and I'd still love to get some great guests on the show too. I mean, I continue to try, but I know people's schedules are kind of all over the map right now. So people are
tried to get Marco, but Marco's been elusive.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's, things are going on with people these days. It's hard to know. Right.
And Jennifer, thanks for promoting my consulting service, which I don't really have, but if you're a major broadcaster, hey, I can really put you a package together, and we might not be able to get anybody to ship it. B&H is shut down, but Guitar Center and some other places are still shipping.
Right.
Sweetwater.
Yeah.
So
there's always Amazon.
And you might get it in 3 weeks, but well,
I've been ordering stuff and it's been coming through pretty quick.
Well, that's good. Stuff I just recently ordered said April 22nd for a delivery date. And I was like, man, it sucks.
Yeah.
So
I guess it depends on what it is that you're ordering.
Yeah, mine is completely non-essential.
Right.
Like I said, LAN cable and a couple of other a switch, Netgear switch.
Right.
So. All right, everybody. Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
I can be found on Twitter as well at Rob Greenlee, and that's with 2 E's. And you can send me an email, robg@libsyn.com, if you want to reach out. And I hope that you're safe and just stay in and do the right thing to keep this from spreading.
Rick, I see you're still hanging out. Where's your show at?
My show, well, the Two-Way Radio Show, that's my day job. That's at twowayradioshow.com or at bytwowayradios.com/show. Of course, I do my Drink with Rick wine stream every Saturday night. The one tonight, that's at drinkwithrick.com. You can join in the chat live, and we'll open up a bottle of wine and toast everybody and have a lot of fun.
All right. Everyone, thanks for being here. And make sure you switch over to indiepodcon.com/virtual. Goes on the rest of the afternoon until 5 and all day tomorrow. So everyone take care. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.